Logos Bible Quiz 2025. Study Guide Part 2. Judges chapters 13, 14, 15 and 16. Life of Samson, his miraculous birth, strength, flaws, fall, and final redemption. Judges, chapter 13. The birth of a deliverer, Samson's divine origin. Judges 13 marks the beginning of the story of Samson, one of Israel's most famous judges. The chapter sets the spiritual and narrative tone for his life, starting with Israel's rebellion and God's intervention through a miraculous birth, foretold by an angel. Judges, chapter 13. Verses 1 to 10, the divine birth foretold. Israel once again did evil in the sight of the Lord, leading to 40 years of Philistine oppression. During this time, the angel of the Lord visits a barren woman from Zorah, the wife of Manoah from the tribe of Dan. He announces that she will give birth to a son, who must live under Nazirite vows from birth and will begin to deliver Israel from the Philistines. The woman shares the encounter with her husband, describing the angel's awe-inspiring appearance and the command for strict dietary laws. Manoah prays for the angel to return and teach them how to raise the promised child. God listens, and the angel appears again to the woman, who quickly brings her husband. Judges, chapter 13. Verses 11 to 18, Manoah's encounter with the angel. Manoah meets the angel and confirms the message. He asks for guidance about the boy's life and mission, and the angel reaffirms the instructions already given to the woman, especially about what she must avoid during pregnancy. Manoah offers hospitality, but the angel declines food, suggesting a burnt offering to the Lord instead. When Manoah asks for his name, the angel replies that it is too wonderful to be known. Judges, chapter 13. Verses 19 to 23, Manoah's fear and wife's reasoning. As Manoah offers the sacrifice, the angel of the Lord ascends in the flame of the altar, revealing his divine nature. Manoah and his wife fall on their faces, and the angel does not appear again, fearing they will die for having seen God. Manoah panics, but his wife wisely reasons that God would not have accepted their offering or shown them these signs if he meant to harm them. Judges, chapter 13. Verses 24 to 25, birth of Samson. The woman gives birth to a son and names him Samson. As he grows, the Lord blesses him, and the Spirit of the Lord begins to stir him in Mahanedan, between Zorah and Eshtaol. Judges, chapter 13, important persons. The Israelites, they had once again turned away from God, leading to their oppression by the Philistines for 40 years. Manoah, a man from Zorah, of the tribe of Dan, who was the father of Samson. Manoah's wife, she was barren, but was visited by the angel of the Lord, who foretold the birth of Samson. The angel of the Lord, a divine messenger who announced Samson's birth and gave instructions regarding his Nazirite vow. Samson, the son of Manoah and his wife, chosen by God to begin delivering Israel from the Philistines. Judges, chapter 13, Important Places. Zorah, the hometown of Manoah, located in the territory of Dan. Mahane-Dan, the place where the Spirit of the Lord began to stir Samson, marking the beginning of his divine calling. Ashkelon, another location near Mahane-Dan, associated with Samson's early life. Judges, chapter 14, Samson's marriage and the riddle. Judges chapter 14 marks the beginning of Samson's adult life and mission. While his actions appear impulsive and personal, the text reveals that divine providence is at work through his choices, particularly in his controversial marriage to a Philistine woman. This chapter highlights themes of divine sovereignty, cultural conflict, strength, secrecy, and betrayal. Judges, chapter 14. Verses 1 to 4, Samson's desire for a Philistine woman. Samson sees a woman in Timnah and insists on marrying her. Despite his parents' objection, his parents' concern reflects Israelite laws and customs against intermarriage with pagan nations. Verse 4 reveals God's hidden plan. This was from the Lord. He intended to use this relationship as an opportunity to confront the Philistines, who ruled over Israel at the time. Verses 5 to 9, Encounter with the lion. While traveling to Timnah, a lion attacks Samson, and he kills it with his bare hands under the influence of the Spirit of the Lord. Upon returning, Samson finds a swarm of bees and honey inside the lion's carcass. He eats the honey and shares it with his parents, but does not disclose its source. Judges, chapter 14. Verses 10 to 18, the wedding feast and the riddle. A customary feast is held. 30 Philistine companions are assigned to Samson. Samson poses a riddle, betting garments on whether they can solve it in 7 days. The riddle is derived from his private experience. Out of the eater came something to eat, and out of the strong came something sweet. The Philistines, unable to solve it, pressure Samson's wife, who manipulates him emotionally to get the answer. She discloses it, and the riddle is solved through deception. Judges, chapter 14. Verses 19 to 20, Samson's response and retaliation. Angry at being tricked, Samson kills 30 men in Ashkelon to fulfill his end of the wager, giving their garments to his companions. He leaves the feast in anger, and his wife is given to his companion, best man. This marks the beginning of escalating conflict between Samson and the Philistines, a cycle of vengeance that continues in later chapters. Judges, chapter 14, Important persons. Samson, a Nazirite with immense strength, often driven by emotion and personal desire but used by God to challenge Israel's enemies. Samson's parents, devout Israelites who struggle to understand their son's unconventional choices. The Philistine woman, a tool in the unfolding divine drama. Though personally caught between loyalty to her people and her husband. Philistine companions represent the cultural and moral antagonism between Israel and its oppressors. Judges, chapter 14, Important Places. Timnah. Samson travels to Timnah, where he sees and desires a Philistine woman. Despite his parents' objections, on his way, he encounters and kills a lion with his bare hands. Later, he finds honey inside the lion's carcass and eats it. At his wedding feast in Timnah, he challenges the Philistines with a riddle about the lion and honey. His wife, pressured by the Philistines, extracts the answer from Samson, leading to betrayal and anger. Ashkelon, enraged by the deception at his wedding feast, Samson travels to Ashkelon, a Philistine city. There, he kills 30 men, taking their garments to settle his bet with the Philistines who answered his riddle. This act of revenge demonstrates Samson's strength and fuels his hostility toward the Philistines. Judges, chapter 15. Samson's revenge with foxes, jawbone victory. Chapter 15 continues the story of Samson, highlighting his conflict with the Philistines and his response to personal betrayal. It shows both his immense physical strength and the divine empowerment he receives from God. Judges, chapter 15. Verses 1 to 8, Samson's revenge. Samson returns to visit his wife but learns that her father has given her to another man. Enraged, Samson catches 300 foxes, ties torches to their tails, and releases them into Philistine fields, destroying their crops, vineyards, and olive groves. In retaliation, the Philistines burn Samson's wife and her father. Samson vows revenge and attacks the Philistines, killing many before retreating to the cleft of the rock at Etam. Judges, chapter 15. Verses 9 to 13, Samson's capture by Judah. The Philistines invade Judah, demanding Samson be handed over. The men of Judah confront Samson, fearing repercussions from the Philistines. Samson agrees to be bound as long as Judah does not harm him. He is tied with new ropes and delivered to the Philistines. Verses 14 to 17, Samson's victory with the jawbone. As the Philistines prepare to seize him, the Spirit of the Lord empowers Samson. His bonds disintegrate, and he finds a fresh donkey's jawbone. With it, he kills 1,000 Philistines, naming the place Ramath Lehi, Jawbone Hill. Judges, chapter 15. Verses 18 to 20, God provides water. Exhausted and thirsty, Samson calls on God for help. God miraculously provides water from a hollow place in Lehi, reviving Samson. The location is named En-Hakkore, spring of the caller. Samson served as Israel's judge for 20 years during Philistine rule. Judges, chapter 15, important persons. Samson, the central figure. Known for his immense strength and impulsive actions, he seeks revenge against the Philistines. Samson's wife, a Philistine woman previously married to Samson, but later given to another man. She and her father were tragically killed by the Philistines. Samson's father-in-law, the man who denies Samson access to his wife and offers her younger sister. Instead, Philistines, the ruling enemies of Israel, who retaliate against Samson's destruction of their crops. Men of Judah, Samson's fellow Israelites, who fear the Philistines and hand Samson over to them. God provides Samson with water at Lehi after his victory, ensuring his survival. Judges, chapter 15, important places. Timnah, the city where Samson's wife lived and where the conflict begins. Philistine fields, where Samson burns their grain. Vineyards and olive groves using foxes and torches. Cleft of the rock at Etam, Samson's hiding place after he attacks the Philistines. Lehi, the site where Samson is handed over to the Philistines and where he defeats them using a jawbone of a donkey. Ramath Lehi, the name given to the location where Samson kills 1,000 Philistines. En Hakkore, the place where God provides water for Samson, reviving him. Judges, chapter 16. Samson and Delilah. Judges chapter 16 narrates the final chapter of Samson's life. He escapes an ambush in Gaza by carrying the city's gate to a distant hill. Later, he falls in love with Delilah, who is bribed by the Philistines to uncover his secret. After repeated attempts, she persuades him to reveal that his strength lies in his uncut hair. While he sleeps, she arranges for it to be shaved, leading to his capture. Blinded and imprisoned, Samson is humiliated in the Philistine temple. As his hair regrows, he prays for one last act of strength, pulling down the pillars and killing thousands, including himself. His family buries him, marking the end of his 20-year rule. Judges, chapter 16. Verses 1 to 3, Samson's escape from Gaza. Samson visits Gaza and spends the night with a prostitute. The Gazites plan to ambush him at dawn, but he leaves at midnight. He lifts the city gates and carries them to a hill near Hebron, demonstrating his extraordinary strength. Judges, chapter 16. Verses 4 to 21, Samson and Delilah. Samson falls in love with Delilah, a woman from the valley of Sorek. The Philistine rulers bribe her to discover the secret of his strength. Delilah repeatedly tries to trick Samson into revealing his vulnerability, but he deceives her 3 times. She persists, nagging him daily, until he confesses that his strength comes from his uncut hair, as he is a Nazirite to God. Delilah betrays Samson by having his hair shaved while he sleeps, leading to his capture by the Philistines. The Philistines gouge out his eyes and imprison him in Gaza, forcing him into hard labor. Judges, chapter 16. Verses 22 to 31, Samson's final act and death. His hair begins to grow again, hinting at the return of his strength. The Philistine leaders gather to celebrate his defeat, offering sacrifices to their god, Dagon. They bring Samson out to entertain them in a crowded hall. Samson prays to God for one last act of strength. He pushes against the pillars of the temple, collapsing the structure and killing himself along with thousands of Philistines. His family retrieves his body and buries him in Zorah, where his father Manoah was laid to rest. Samson had judged Israel for 20 years. Judges, chapter 16, Important persons. Samson, the central figure known for his immense strength, eventually betrayed by Delilah. Delilah, a woman from the valley of Sorek who deceives Samson, leading to his downfall. The lords of the Philistines, Philistine rulers who bribed Delilah to uncover Samson's secret. Gazites, Philistines in Gaza who attempt to ambush Samson. Dagon, the Philistine god to whom they attribute Samson's capture. Judges, chapter 16, Important places. Gaza, where Samson visits a prostitute and later is imprisoned by the Philistines. Hebron, the hill where Samson carries the gates of Gaza in an incredible display of strength. Valley of Sorek, where Delilah lives and conspires against Samson. Philistine temple, the place where Samson is brought to entertain the Philistines and later collapses by pulling down its pillars. Zorah and Ashkelon, where Samson is buried alongside his father, Manoah. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to this channel for more content like this.